Hey guys, it's Bo. I just want to welcome you back for another week of our series, Road Signs. Pastor Justin kicked off this first week by talking about this idea that it's our direction, not our intentions, that determine where we end up. So think about it. If you want to go to college, what do you have to do to get there? If you're sitting there in high school right now and you're thinking, man, I really want to go to college, and you're failing every class, you're probably not going to end up there. So what do you have to do to get to college? You got to fill out applications. You got to do well in school. So it's those things, that direction that we're on, that ultimately determines where we end up. So guys, I just want you to sit back, relax, and get ready for the next part of our series, Road Signs.
What's up guys, thanks so much for coming back this week. We are continuing our series called Road Signs this week. And last week we talked about how every direction we choose to go determines the destination we end up at. Ultimately, wherever we go, the direction we head is going to determine where we end up. We all understand this, and it kind of is really clear to us in regards to driving in a car. We understand that if we want to go to Miami Beach, Florida, we don't get on the interstate and head north because we're going to end up in New York, right? But for some reason, this principle, the path principle that says the direction we head determines the destination we end up at, it's not as clear to us when dealing with just everyday life, like dealing with our relationships, dealing with entertainment, dealing with moral standards. For some reason there's this disconnect, and it's not as clear to us that the direction we head ultimately determines the destination we end up at. And so I want to talk about this. I want to answer the question, how do we know when we're on the wrong path? And how do we know when we're on that wrong path? How do we know when to get off? What are the warning signs that tell us, hey, we're heading in the wrong direction? And so I want to turn to Proverbs 27. Proverbs 27:12 says this. It says, "The prudent see danger and they take refuge, but the simple, they keep going and they suffer for it." This passage is talking about two different people. It's talking about the prudent and it's talking about the simple. Well, who are these people? What are the prudent and what are the simple? A prudent person, the dictionary defines them as this. It says, a wise person, acting or showing care or thought for the future. The prudent person understands that the here and now affects the tomorrow. The here and now affects and impacts their future. But the simple in this translation in Proverbs 27:12, the Hebrew word that they use for simple is actually used in other parts of the Bible, and the word actually means naive. Basically, these people are clueless. They don't understand, they don't realize that the here and now, the decisions they make here and now affect their tomorrow. And we all know this. We talked about this last week, that the direction we head determines the destination we end up at. And so I want to maybe turn the focus towards you guys. Maybe you've been there. Maybe you've been that simple person, that naive person that sees the warning signs. Because the prudent person and the simple person, they both see the warning signs. But the prudent person takes refuge. They seek safety. But the simple person sees the warning signs and they don't care. They just keep going. And the Bible is very clear of what the outcome for the simple person is. It's 4 simple words that says, they suffer for it. They suffer for it. They understand and they see that there are warning signs, but they ignore it. And maybe you've been that simple person. Maybe you've been that simple person. Maybe you've heard your mom or your dad or your friend or whoever tell you, hey, the decisions you're making right now, they're probably not the best decisions in the world. Maybe you need to rethink that relationship. Maybe you need to rethink about where you're going on the weekends. And you hear the warning signs, but you choose to ignore it. And you continue to do the same thing over and over and over again. Maybe you're that person that's like thinking about the boyfriend that continually cheats on you and is continually mistreating you and is continually putting you down, and you think they'll change, and you think one day it'll be better, and you think, well, tomorrow won't be this way and he won't cheat on me again, but you choose to stay in that relationship. See, these are the warning signs we're talking about. When you're headed towards a direction and the destination is a dead-end road. Proverbs says, listen, the prudent, the wise person, they see these warning signs and they take refuge. But the simple, they ignore it and they keep on going and they suffer for it. Listen, this whole concept of warning signs, of heading down a direction or heading down a path that is probably the wrong path, and the warning signs that God gives us to let us know we're on the wrong path, I know that the most important area that this is so true for us to apply is in the area of our relationships. Whether it be our dating relationships or whether it be our friendships. I know that this is so important for us, that we need to understand, listen, we need to evaluate our friendships. We need to evaluate our dating relationships, and not just evaluate them based on the here and the now, but we need to evaluate our relationships based on where they're going to be 5, 10, 15 years from now. You've heard the saying probably before, show me your friends, I'll show you your future. It is so true. Think about the people you're hanging out with right now. Think about the people that you hang out with on a daily basis, or the places that you go and hang out with other friends. Like, who are those people? And ask yourself this: do I want to be like this person 5, 10 years from now? And where are these relationships heading in 5 or 10 years from now? Listen, I know this is true, that when you have to make a decision to end a relationship because you see these warning signs, there are 4 things that are true. One is this: you've got to take action. There's a phone call that's got to be made, or you've got to tell somebody, listen, we can't hang out anymore, or I don't want to go here anymore, or I don't want to do this anymore. There's an action that has to take place. The second thing that I know is true is that there's sacrifice. There's going to be a sacrifice. You're going to have to give up something. You're going to have to give up a place, a habit, a decision, a friendship, a dating relationship, a boy or a girl. You're going to have to give up something when you see those warning signs. Because listen, you're headed down a direction that's probably headed towards a dead end. And God's giving you these warning signs. And He's saying, listen, I want you to give up this. Here's what else I know is true. That there's going to be an element of embarrassment. You're going to make a decision to stop doing something, or to stop hanging with someone, or you're going to make a decision to stop going to a certain place, or to using a certain language, or participating in a certain activity. And you're going to tell your friends, listen, I don't want to do this anymore. And they're going to look at your decision, and they're going to look at who you are right now, and they're going to say, man, but this is who you are. But it's not about who you are now. It's about who do you want to be? Who do you hope to be? They're gonna base and evaluate your decision based on who you are now, but you're making your decision based on where do you want to be? What is the destination you want to end up at? But here, the 4th thing that I know is true, the 4th thing, and this is the good news, is that you're going to get further down the road on the right path. And you're going to look back at that point in time when you saw a warning sign, or when you saw a place where you needed to make a decision that got you off one path and put you on a better path. You're going to be a couple years, maybe months down the road, and you're going to look back at that decision and you're going to think to yourself, thank God I made that decision. The fourth thing that I know is true is that there's going to be a moment of relief. Thinking, thank God I chose to turn around. I chose to look at those warning signs and I chose to go in a different direction. Here's the deal. God loves us more than anything. And He gives us these warning signs. These warning signs just like that says, listen, you're headed towards a dead end. Turn around. Don't go this way. Don't go this direction, because if you keep going down this direction, you're going to end up in a place that you really wish you hadn't ended up at. And so my question to you is, are you going to listen to those warning signs? Will you listen to those warning signs and not act like the simple and ignore them and suffer for it? But will you act like the prudent person who's wise and took refuge?